All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is a replay review. Somebody won a coaching raffle, and then we had a struggle finding the actual code to review, and then ended up the owl scrim analysis. So long story short, we're here to review some GM, Doomfist, and Zarya from Slugger, who won the raffle review, and this is going to be publicly available. So Slugger, enjoy this. Also, lots of people are going to be laughing at this gameplay. So I'm not going to have my headphones plugged in, so hopefully the echo isn't too bad here, but you know, got to keep my hair free. Yeah, let's take a look here. So the big thing with Zarya is I actually like to look at this a little bit like Zenyatta, where when we talk about Zenyatta, we're talking about orbing aggression, right? So we're using our Harmony on Disorder Orb to either nullify or enable aggression from the enemy team and our team respectively. So what that might mean is if you're playing very aggressive, you use your bubbles for yourself. If the enemy TPS is playing aggressive on your backline, you use your bubbles for your backline to prevent the enemy aggression from getting value. Or like, let's say you're Genji or Sojourner going in aggressive, you use your bubbles on them to enable their aggression to work out. So a lot of it's just going to depend on the situation and the composition and the matchup, but basically the rule applies regardless of what you're playing against. Zarya plays the exact same regardless of what you're playing versus Spam, Dive, or Brawl. You just have the same mindset, but how that mindset is actually executed is where the variety kind of comes into play. Now, I really like the way A10 looks at bubbles, because we look at bubbles as cooldowns that were used in team fights to take space or deny the enemy team from taking space. So a lot of Zarya has been in the past about using bubbles to build charge and then actually engaging after that. But obviously with the decay rate changes and even just this holo tank mindset, a lot of that has shifted from just using bubble for yourself and only yourself into where you actually might need to be using bubble more to actually take space and not just to build charge. It's not even necessarily about who you're bubbling, but when you're bubbling. For example, if I go to this choke right here and I use double bubble and I build a lot of charge, okay, I'm good to go, because by the time we actually get to the fight, I should have both my bubbles to contest or control space. So I'm good to go. But if I were to like fish for charge here, a better team has a huge window of opportunity to actually push on top of me, and I can't stop them. Even though I might be 50, 60, 70 charge, my charge is rapidly decaying when I need it most, and I don't have those bubbles to defensively peel off or even aggressively push in when I need them. So remember, the charge rate change really means that yes, you lose a little bit of poke if you bubble, if you don't bubble for charge, but when the fight actually starts, you get the charge when you need it, and you have the bubbles available for the value that just the bubble itself gets. So I think farming for charge is great when you can do it safely, when you know for certain that nothing's going to be happening, but you need to be really careful about the timing of when those bubbles are used. So I'm looking at your compositional matchup here, and I can see one of two things. I can see us playing very aggressively, using our bubbles selfishly to try and burn Reinhardt shield, looking for off angles, things like that. And I can also see us looking to use our bubbles on like a Genji Sojourner or something like that. Heck, we could even potentially see a bubble on our Zenyatta versus the Tracer. So a lot of it's just going to be about your awareness of what's happening and when it's actually happening. Okay. So we're going to bubble that, 40 charge, that's fine. We should have our second bubble by the time the fight actually truly starts. Tracer's dead, that gives us off to a great start. So now we just need to keep our distance and play patiently. Now this is the great thing about Zarya. You do not need, especially when you're playing into a Reinhardt, you don't need to rush in here and bubble off. You can sit right on this corner right here and just burn and burn and burn and burn and burn. Then Reinhardt has to make one of two decisions. Either he has to back up, in which case you just continue to walk forward and burn and burn and burn and burn and play near cover, or he's going to push into you. Look who just came offline at the same time. If he pushes into you, well, guess what? You have both bubbles, right? You don't need to force the engagement. You dictate the tempo of this fight, because you can just play to your range and force him to make a decision. Either he gives up space and you use no bubbles and you just win the fight, or he pushes into you and you have both bubbles and you win the fight. I feel like we're going to push in here with double bubble, but I don't think that's really what we ought to do here. There's one bubble. There's two bubbles, or one bubble. Actually, I only use both. There's two bubbles, right? But really, it's just not necessary here. I think we could have done the exact same thing even easier if we had just simply walked to the corner and literally just held down mouse one. Make this guy walk that much further into you, bubble that much later, and heck, you might not even need to bubble at all, right? And certainly would have taken less damage and also done more damage onto a squishy, because we had a better angle for it as well. Do you see how this creates a better off angle than what we're doing right now? We have better cover usage and we bubble a little bit later. We're forcing a brawl. We're forcing a brawl. Now, if this was like a Sigma composition with like a Zen, we might have to go 3, 2, 1, walk in with double bubble to close the distance because they have better range than us. But versus a Reinhardt, if you're able to get beam on him or on his backline, you really don't need to do anything. It's actually on him to actually push into you or clear space into you. So I don't like us forcing bubble here. We do get the kill. Now we need to be really, really safe because we don't have any bubble to control space. Now we have a bubble, but I don't really want this. I know you're like, oh, Reinhardt's low, he could probably die. Maybe that's okay, but we've seen a little bit too much tank attention, right? When there were squishies literally right in front of us on a flank and so on. Nice bubble. Again, that's about denying the aggression there. Let's go top. They're on Winston. Beam, 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 spam, spam, spam. Always be doing damage. Always be doing damage. No downtime with this hero whenever possible. Bubbling there. We need to give up a little bit of space. Maybe bubble there to give up a little space. Now we don't have any bubbles, so we need to give up space. Probably didn't need that one. I'm gonna be honest with you. You need to be really careful about using a bubble to just whatever, right? Because as you can see here, this bubble feels really necessary, because if you get this bubble here, this Winston might actually die, and your Sojourn will live, but now it's the other way around. So we need to be really careful about this. As it is, it turns out okay. I do like that we're trying to control this space here, but we need to get some zaps. A lot of tank pressure right now. Again, I just don't love the tank pressure unless there aren't other targets available. Like I see the Kiriko right in front of me. Let's try and go for that. And then to get a preemptive bubble here, right here. You see this? You're fine. Make them actually commit to you before you commit bubble, because then actually, do you see what actually happens? Who's more of a risk here? You or your Sojourn? Well, it's clearly the Sojourn. She's being aggressed on, right? Remember, that's what we're using these bubbles for. But unfortunately, I actually feel like your Sojourn might actually die here. Ooh. No, she has, but even worse. Okay, not even worse, but almost as bad. She actually has to give up the angle because she doesn't get bubble. This is a huge mistake. We got to keep our head in a swivel. We got to keep our head in a swivel. If you are being hard pushed, bubble yourself. Be greedy, right? But if you have your DPS taking aggressive positions, that 200 HP goes so much further, and you still get the charge out of it, right? So, yeah, not good. Again, just not necessary to bubble that. He's basically full HP, and the Tracer had recalled. Just not a good use of our attention there. We need to be, like right now, we need to be so attentive. I feel like we're losing a little bit of awareness of what's going on right now. Like, what's going on behind us? Do we know? Do we know? Are we aware of these things? I feel like we need to give up space. We really need to give up space. There's a Winston on our back. We need to give up space. Thank you. Again, attentiveness. Don't just turn around. Win the fight. What's going on back here? Like, maybe they need a bubble. Maybe they need some right clicks. You know what I'm saying? I think we're a little bit sloppy with where we're putting our attention. And it's such an important skill for Zarya, because it completely shifts about who we bubble, when we bubble, where we bubble, and stuff like that. And I will say as well, especially if you have your Brig already in cart, there is no reason for you to be here. You could be on high ground, putting out poke damage, and helping your team control space with your bubbles, right? Enabling that aggression that we talked about here. This is silly. You have 3 people in cart. This is a Grandmaster or Master's lobby. No reason for that. And the problem here is that even though you do take this, you take it too late. Like, do you see the space is actually being contested, like right now? Let's actually look at this here. If your Genji gets bubble here, maybe this feels a lot more comfortable. He might actually die here. Yeah, I don't know. I feel that we were very, very late there, and that's concerning. Okay, let's take a look here. So we're gonna go on backline. That's good. We're gonna bubble a little bit unnecessarily. I felt like there was some pressure on us, and maybe that's okay. That's good. Honestly, not too bad. It did feel like we were going to get pressured, but what the enemy team does instead is they actually just give up the space. So it feels like, oh no, the bubble didn't get value, but actually look at the enemy team's positioning here, and then because you use your bubble selfishly here, look at the position of the enemy soldier and the Mercy and the Kiriko, right? You control the space now. So I think it was actually very reasonable. It doesn't always have to get value, but you can ask yourself, by not shooting the bubble, did they have to back up? And the answer is yes. So yeah, I think we're good to go. We might need to drop here. Okay, we don't. I was gonna say maybe drop and bubble our Zen, but he ends up not needing it. Bubble there. I think it's probably okay to preemptively bubble a blade, just because you know that if it works, it's gonna win you the fight. Again, bubble's just too early there. Wait for the landing damage, because that's really where the majority of the damage from a Winston Primal is going to come from. Again, head in a swivel here. Do you know how healthy your Zenyatta is? Do you even know where your Zenyatta is? Just a quick swivel, right? Right now, the Winston's in the air, check around. But yeah, you definitely could be a little bit more patient with their timing of the bubbles. Like, you're bubbling a Zenyatta when the person that's actually shooting them is already gone. So yeah. Another situation here as well where I think it'd be okay. Yeah, I was gonna say push up, bubble off your Genji, bubble yourself even. You can even bubble aggressively here. Because you know that you're going to give up space and probably play around here. So it's probably okay to use a bubble here and then play to the next corner. Now, if you're looking to hold this, we need to not use any of our bubbles, right? So if you're looking to grab this, that bubble is a mistake if you're looking to grab this, because you're going to need both bubbles to push. That bubble as well. Are we looking to push or are we looking to disengage? Do you see how we've used now 1, 2, and I think 3 bubbles? And we're at 38 charge. And now, because we don't have either of our bubbles, we can't really push in aggressively into this Kiri ult and finish off the grab. That's a huge mistake. When you're looking to push, we do not use our bubbles. We look to have to use those resources to actually engage. Maybe we use one, but we certainly don't use both. So now you should have both bubbles. You should be at like 80 charge, right? And you should be able to run into this and just burn them. But now, you know, I mean, it's not surprising, right? We don't have the resources to push in. And the funny thing is that even though you tried to use them for charge, you got such a minimal amount of charge. You see, when you posture yourself aggressively, you build charge off of that, right? Standing here and taking spam damage may or may not give you charge. But one thing to guarantee it is to play aggressively. You play aggressively, you guarantee charge. And if you're grabbing and you're walking into the grab, you're going to build charge. You're going to have 0 charge, and then you're going to have 80 instantly, right? But we didn't have that, so bubbles must be what enables aggression to happen when you want to push. The only time that we use bubbles for spam are when we know we can't be pushed or we don't mind giving up space. But you got grab. Of course you want to push. Like right here. We now know that we can no longer push. We can no longer engage. So maybe that's okay with us, given our position. We have a corner. We want to greed a little bit. That's okay. Now we walk. Now we have 2 bubbles. I don't like how we're chaining them, though. So if we talk a little bit about the micro here, we want to burn this guy. We use 1 bubble. Great. Look at your HP. You're probably still fine. And we're not really pushing either right now. We're just zapping. But yet you use that second bubble. Whereas right now we could have zapped, now we could have popped that second bubble and walked on this guy and guaranteed the kill. But you're backing up instead. You see that? Don't bubble, don't just bubble there. You're full HP and you're not actually pushing just yet. These slight downtimes where you have a bubble available, you're just like, I'm gonna pop it right now. But why? Why? You could walk forward, start to take damage. Let your healers heal you underneath the bubble HP, right? You have your shields as well that will regenerate just a tad little bit as well. But this is a bubble that we would like to have right now, but we don't have it. So we back up, the kill gets out, and we actually don't end up finishing off the staggers that we would have liked to be able to finish off. So it's a poetry, right? So we're focusing very, very heavily on cooldowns and not as much. Ooh, we gotta be really careful. We gotta back up, we gotta back up, we gotta back up, we gotta back up. Oh dear. Yeah, in case in point, right? We expose ourselves by using both bubbles there to being pushed. All right, let's see if we learned a lesson from the last graph. Surely. There's the rally. Don't bubble. Oh, we got rolled. What hit you so hard? Was it a Sojourn Rail? You started to take a little bit of damage. Yeah, we got a lot of damage from the Sojourn plus the Reaper as well in the face. We're just a little slow there. I think one thing that I would add as well is, as we saw earlier, you're not very aware of what's going on around you. You're not really checking your corners, your angles, your flanks when you have downtime. So I think that's something that we can work at. Don't bubble, just walk. Don't bubble, just walk. That bubble's probably fine. Felt like she was actually being engaged on. Don't bubble, don't bubble, don't bubble, don't bubble, just walk. Don't bubble, just walk. Don't bubble, nah. Right there. If you don't have your bubbles there, you do not get that kill. Nice job. Okay, fair enough. So big thing with you is better peripheral awareness of what's going on and synchronizing your bubble pressure more when you want to push. Greed with bubbles only works, again, when you're not looking to push or you're willing to give up space. So right now, why bubble here when you can just use the corner? right? Now, this isn't a bad bubble, but I don't think it's a good bubble. Why use a bubble when you can just use the corner? Because now you're exposing yourself to being pushed with Nemesis form because you've just used a bubble. For what? Shield? Like, obviously, they've used a cooldown to force a cooldown, but I actually think that if you played cover here, you could make them force a cooldown, and you don't have to use anything at all. So what that would mean is then if they try to push in now, you would have a bubble, and maybe another bubble soon to punish them for pushing in. Or let's say that they used here and you've got 2 bubbles. You could walk around the choke and start to walk on them. And then if you see an opportunity to push, you could push with both of your bubbles because you have them available. Whereas now you are vulnerable to being pushed on, and you can no longer push even if you wanted to. Now, are you the reason why we lost this? I don't think so. Not really, but just something to consider. Okay, so Doomfist. Let's take a look at Doomfist. Doomfist is going to be a lot about punishing aggression. Kind of similar to how we use our bubbles. We're thinking more about my direct presence is what controls space. So your strength is not necessarily a 1v1 versus a Ramattra, but if that Cassidy, if that Widowmaker, if any of them take aggressive angles, you're in a position to punish them. Okay? Like even a Ramattra, you're not horrible versus if he gets too aggressive. You can be anywhere that you want to be at any point in time. These slams are fine, but I think just important for chat to know that once you're stuck, the slam thing doesn't work. In fact, I'm not even actually sure if it works when you're stuck during the animation. So yeah, just something to keep in mind. Now, I will say this. If this Widowmaker takes an aggressive angle or the DPS control any space over here, we need to control that. So punish the aggression from the enemy DPS instead of just controlling this. Yes, this is what we need to do. Ooh, a little bit of mechanic scoop up there. That Kiriko's too aggressive, she should be punished. Now let me ask you a question. Where is their DPS? I don't think you know, do you? You see, you're okay versus a Ramattra 1v1, but you know who you're even better at threatening? These guys. And these guys are how they're going to win the fight, too. I promise you, I bet the farm that this aggressive off angle is where they're going to win the fight. Cassie's already shooting in the back. Your Sojourn bails you out. If they're going to win, it's going to be from those positions. Always. And remember, your hero's mobility allows you to be on those positions at any point in time. We're kind of feeding here. Look at where your team is fighting. We don't want to be. Well, I guess they're engaged. I think this is okay, actually. I think if they engage onto your backline, you can go for their backline. I think it's okay. I thought we were pushing too far ahead, but their Ramattra is so far in. We just kind of mess up mechanically. Nicely done. A little bit of sass. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Unfortunate. Can't really help that. Take high ground. That Tracer's aggressive, but how good are we at a Tracer 1v1? Not that good. So maybe we can control Tracer, but also if we just set the high ground here, probably just better to go for the backline. We like so much of tanking, guys. Like we talk about this so much. Just go for a favorable 1v1. Avoid Ramattra. He's not bad. You're not bad versus him in the 1v1, but why go for Ramattra when a Cassidy is available, right? When a Kiriko is available, right? Even if you can't get the kill, you force so much more pressure. So I'm a little bummed. We're putting a lot of attention on Ramattra here. And again, like if we have the opportunity, we would like to flank through here. Why? So that we can avoid the Ramattra and go for a hero that we're better at. Remember, Ramattra doesn't have this mobility, so he's limited with who he can chase, right? We're so focused on this frontline trade. So focused. And this is just not the matchup that we're wanting to see, right? You see your backline just getting completely run over. Even if you don't get the kill, the distraction on the backline is worth so much more than what we're doing right now. Not very fluid mechanically either. We need to work a little bit on our 180s and our like geometric movement. So like right here, who are we slamming? Okay, we're going on Kiriko. We miss our punch, we lose our target. All right. It's just such a shame. So much of our attention is wasted on that Ramattra. So much of our attention is wasted on that Ramattra. I mean, look at this. We just spend one fight and we actually go for backline, and everything just feels so much better. In fact, the Ramattra ends up giving up space because he doesn't get heal support, right? Nice. We do need to work on our mechanics, though, especially our aggressive movements. When things start to get a little bit chaotic, we completely lose ourselves. And that kind of lines up with what we saw on Zarya as well, where you were losing a little bit of peripheral awareness. Please, don't do it. Don't do it. Yes. Good. You see how the Ramattra's already low? Why? Because they're peeling off the Cassidy that you punched. Very good. Stop! 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 Oh no, we could have canceled that. I mean, look at this. Life's easy when you're not going for tank line all the time. I think we could be doing a better job staging high ground as well, but case in point mechanics, right? Nice. Now you can shoot tank if that tank is way overextending. Like let's say that Ramatra is super aggressive and his backline's like in their spawn and you can't reach their backline. That's fine. Go for the Ramatra, right? I would say high ground here, easier access. It's the same reason why Winston goes high ground, better access for backline. There we go. That right there needs to hit, you know? Like that's a very important cancel because it's very good versus Anas as well. And even Baps because it doesn't give them the time to use their cooldown. So like right here, bam, if you punch immediately without even charging, maybe you did that here, it just didn't quite hit, then that gives them, it's just a good thing to know, like it prevents them from being able to get off lamp, sleep dart, so on. Good, but I will say, look at what this does. Even though you mess it up, or that Mercy outplays you, watch. Mercy turns around, Soldier turns around. That prevents any follow-up from the Kiriko ult, and enables your Tracer to actually get a much easier stick because the Soldier's distracted. It's an easier stick for your Tracer. Very nice. It really feels like either something has clicked or we've just accidentally started doing the right thing. Case in point, by the way, with the stick thing and the damage reduction. I mean, heck, even Reaper, right? Like, see, they're off of Soldier, but Reaper, you can't kill directly, but you can say, hey, you want to take an aggressive position on high ground? No, you don't. I slam here, I punch you off, right? That's fine. Just controlling that space and then using this space to go for the Kiriko, continue to go for the Kiriko Mercy is huge. So take the position away. Just because they're not on tier of that you can 1v1 easily, yeah, this is totally blind. You have no idea where you're going. I think we do a lot better from using this little high ground position just so we can see better. Yeah, this is a disaster. Nice. Go for that Mercy or Kiriko. We're keeping that Mercy yellow beaming on the Kiriko, right? And we're preventing that Kiriko from doing what she wants. So even though this doesn't feel very good, this is much better than anything else that we could be doing right now. We just need to, oh, nice. See, that's a good trade. That's a good trade. Pick a target, kill it. Pick a target, kill it. Almost. And look at that. The Ramatra just slowly dies. No attention onto him. And they're gonna lose the fight, even though you didn't get a single pick that fight, because you're baiting so much attention. Don't get baited. Don't get baited. Don't get baited. Okay, no, he messed up his roll up. I was gonna say just focus on the back line. Okay, so yeah, Doomfist, it's a lot of frontline focus and mechanics. Zarya, it's gonna be a lot of managing your bubbles around when you want to push or when you don't need to push, so you can greed for charge, and then a little bit of peripheral awareness. Hope that makes sense. Congratulations on winning the raffle review, and I'll chat with you guys later.